So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very, very much for coming to the panel discussion number 17. We will try to be so short as possible and finish on time. I know that this is the most difficult part of the conference. It's directly after the lunch. It's one of the most interesting parts. So we have some guests which are from abroad, from UK, from Malta, from Italy, and Greece here. So the event is hybrid, and it's all about digital twin, from the digital twin to the memory twin, a new horizon for cultural heritage documentation. We heard over the time during these 3 days a lot about the digital twins. We heard about knowledge, we heard about the story, we heard about memory, but never about the memory twin or what it means if we digitize at the end of the day. Digitize, it means digital documentation at the end of the day, and why we do that. The next slide, please. So the panel consists from Antonella Frezza, the coordinator of the EU project Oerica 3D XR, Boraz Miguel, the coordinator of the EU Heritalize project, Anderson Janet, the coordinator of the EU project e-archiving, Heines Ronald, who is in charge and the chairman of the IIIF 3D Standardization Committee, the committee working in the 3D standardization, Casa Anthony, the director of the digitization unit of Heritage Malta, then my colleague Stelios Roumeliotis from the NTUA, and the good friend Nikos, happy to see him again here with us. So now, after my short introduction, focusing on this, what it is currently ongoing, we move to the presentations as it has been listed earlier. So a general definition. It is what? A virtual representation of an object or a system designed to reflect a physical object accurately. We are talking about cultural heritage, digital twins. Have you seen in this definition anything related to cultural heritage? No. This definition is coming from engineering, but not from the humanities. Let's do it in this way. So now, let's see. That's an object, as it is stated in the definition above. And this is the accurate replica. Yeah? The digital one. Yes or no? Up to now, correct. And this is the one-to-one replication of the object. This is, ladies and gentlemen, the Lambusa trawler in the Pan-Hellenic area is the only existing boat, fishing boat of this type, and it is in Limassol. It is a property of the municipality of Limassol. It has been digitized from us, it has been modeled, and it is now going to be the first float museum of the island of Cyprus. Yeah? So this is, and this object, of course, it has been digitized, it has been modeled, and it has been harvested in Europeana, the digital cultural heritage library of Europe, the only one existing in the world and the biggest, the largest, from our Deputy Minister, Lina Kassianidou, last year in a special high political meeting at the auspices of the European Commission. But let's go and see about the memory twin, and I want to link this presentation with the two previous panels of this morning, which were very, very interesting and helped me a lot to modify the introduction of our panel here. So a memory twin, and it's all about the jewelry of 2,300 years old that you see over there. And now let's see the definition of the memory twin, and please compare it to this what I showed to you earlier. Goes beyond the replication of the physical characteristics to incorporate the historical, contextual, and experiential information associated with cultural artifacts. This evolution reflects a shift from a focus on physical accuracy to a broader, more holistic is a special one word, and I heard that, we experienced that during the second panel discussion this morning. Holistic understanding of cultural heritage. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an artifact. It is a unique artifact. And not only that, it is so unique, which has values. How the ICT of the 21st digital century now can do what? Can document the values of, let's say, cultural heritage objects. In the other way, if a monument belongs to the UNESCO list, then we are talking about a universal and outstanding value there. How? Whatever we heard, whatever it has been discussed up to now, can do what? Document the universal and outstanding values of these objects, which are unique for the humanity, to be preserved for the generations to come, and if it's possible, to learn from the past to improve the future. We have Europeana, 50, 60 million objects there. Go find one, which reflects exactly this challenge. If you find one, then we can talk together and continue. Now, let's see if this is a first attempt of such a documentation. And you see, we set up a new system and we say, let's think the memory in the way how a human can set it up. It's a tangible, it's a movable, it's a wearable, it's an ornament, it's a jewelry, it's, and so on, object. And by each one of these definitions, what do we have? At the end of the day, a set of other or subsets of other data and information. And if we move, and you see there on the upper part, I think I have to stand up and show to you. Yes, if you see here, then it's much better, the X-ray investigation, where we got a lot of examples from this morning. And then the specification of how we try to define it. I will use this microphone from there. So now, having that in mind, and we move further, then we can observe what exactly this, what it has been discussed during the second panel of this morning, the detailed investigation, documentation, the interior as well as the exterior, okay? And the chemical analysis, chemical investigations, and so on. The entire details. At the end of the day, we coming from the informatics, from the cultural informatics, from the digital documentation, from the digital heritage. We are interested at the knowledge graph. And the knowledge graph is that which brings all the information and data together. To do that, we have the memory identity. Identity means high quality, exact, authentic documentation. So for the documentation, for the digitization, for the modeling, for the visualization, for the use and reuse, if I want to use it, then I want to use an authentic story and not a whatever imagined story or a story which is more than less describing the great Alexander, yeah? The Alexander the Great. And of course, how during the time of missing standards. Imagine that you have someone sitting here saying to you, I can write, I am the specialist in the Greek language. You tell to the person, please start writing Greek. And he writes in the way of what? He's using his own grammatic and his own semantic rules. What are you going to do? You start laughing, okay? That's what's happening at the moment. Of course, we are not laughing, but we are not serious. We need, as Europeans, to be more serious so far as the digitization of the past concerned. So, knowledge, that's the story, that's the memory. It's all about paradata. It's all about metadata. It's all about data. It's all these words here are, the three last at least, Greek words, born here, yeah? So we cannot change that. And paradata, this is God. It is the certification of the quality of how the metadata and the data have been created. And we heard that from the second panel this morning. And that's how you can prove that your data, that the results of your investigation and documentation are correct and of high quality, of course. That was a part of the results coming out of the Oerica 3D project. And if I want to use a nice overview image, but before that, to show to you what it has been achieved in this project, before I will hand over to the coordinator of the project, the first speaker of the panel, please scan the two QR codes. Here is where you can get some of the documents related to the project, but also to the study, to the European study related to the paradata. The study tried at least to change the horizon of creating the memory or documenting memory by saying first, let's take care of the quality of the results that we achieved during the documentation. If it's not authentic and of high quality, then why to document? Yeah? So, now, by saying this, there are another 3 QR codes for you to download. I brought one of these hard copies with me. The first one, 3D digitization, guidelines, step to success. Then the Oerica 3D, Oerica, you know, has been the word Oerica here, invented. The Oerica 3D, and then, of course, an open access publication recently on the net and available for everybody, 22 of December last year, and up to now more than 22,000 times downloaded from around the world. And that's the overview image. Coming to the introduction, to the end, we have the digitization. That's the boat, that's the Lambusa, the only trawler which has been produced here. And the story about the boat is it has a lot to do with the ironic way of how we work in the European Union. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a time ago, 50 years ago, where the boat is not very old, it's 80 years old. You know what? The European Union invested money to produce these boats. Why? For the people to go fishing, and no fishing to bring bread, to bring money, growth home. Yeah? And what happened? Overfishing at the end of the day. Now we need to save whatever it has to be saved, destroy all the boats. Yeah? That they gave a lot of subventions to produce. Now they give you money to destroy them. So lesson learned. Yeah? So, and now, digitization. Digitize that, bring it up, but take care of the paradata, of the metadata, of the data, high quality, bring them up to the cloud, make it in such a way so that there is an authentication, an authorization there, then over the cloud, give it up or harvest that to Europeana, make it available for the people to download it for use and reuse, and of course, for the e-archiving, that these data sets have to be preserved. And for that, there is the e-archiving initiative of the European Union, from which we are going now to hear from the coordinator. And I would like to hand over the floor to the coordinator of the Oerica 3D XR project, Antonella. Antonella, are you online? Excuse me, is Antonella online? Can we see the online participants, please? No, Antonella is not online. Then we can go to the next one, which is Miguel. Miguel is the coordinator of the EU Heritalize project, which started on the 1st of January. And it's all about digital documentation in cultural heritage. And Miguel, the floor is yours to explain to us not only what the project is, what the mission of the project is, and what the community, the society, can profit out of this EU investment, and how the project can change the horizon so far as the digital documentation concerned. Thank you. Miguel, floor is yours. Yeah. If you can share your screen, please, if you have some.
Yes. Just allow me 1 second. Wait a sec. I know why I'm not being able to share this. Let me know if you can see the presentation now.
Yes, we can see it, but yes, you have to go to the presentation mode.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Excellent.
So again, thank you, Marinos, and your team for having me and organizing this. My name is Miguel Boraz. I'm the coordinator of Heritalize project. I will be presenting it shortly, and hopefully having the time for later on having some questions and answers and proper discussion. So just a quick summary of our project, of Heritalize project. Its full title is Heritage Buildings and Objects, Digitization and Visualization within the Cloud. IDP is the coordinator. We have 17 partners from different 7 countries. It's a 4.2 million euro project plus 0.8 million euros coming from the UK funding body. It's a 4-year project, so it has effectively started January this year, so it will last until 31st of December 2028. We have a lot of challenges and goals ahead of us, but in a nutshell, what we intend to do is to provide and research and develop and provide digitization techniques in terms of data acquisition and processing based on AI and machine learning techniques, which give way to the provision of different models. In this regard, we plan to digitize not only the tangible cultural heritage, but also the intangible. And by intangible, we include physical information, but also like not physical. So referring to stories, memories, traditions, etc., etc. All of these, in the end, we plan to make it available for the ECCCH cloud through kind of standardized methodologies, API services, etc., etc. One just final comment on these. The idea is that with all this digitized data, we provide end users and cultural heritage stakeholders with certain services that optimize and boost and improve the kind of operation and running and use of the cultural heritage towards multiple cultural heritage stakeholders, tourism, education, etc. So we have different pillars of development of research. So pillar one is kind of the CH digitalization requirements and methodology definition. So a proper also state-of-the-art review. This is carried out mainly by Marinos and his team. Then we have pillars 2 and 3, which are aimed at the digitalization tools definition and development. Then supported by the CH data processing supported by AI, which will give way to the models and the paradata, metadata, and everything that Marinos has mentioned before, and with which we will make use through different services, such as GeoHBeam based digital twin environment. Now, this was a proposal stage name. Now we refer to the HHBeam, so holistic HBeam models, which we built a digital twin platform based on it. In addition to these, we have the AR, VR, XR visualization of cultural heritage, also based on gaming engine techniques, cultural heritage conservation module based on data coming from sensors. So, for example, humidity, temperature, irradiance, vibration, etc., and also CT scan based 3D print. Again, all these we plan to make interoperable within the ECCCH. So we will work on an ICT architecture, also linking the digital twin and all the data models, metadata, paradata, etc. And finally, pillar 6 is the replication and scalability strategies based on these, and with which we plan to affect and engage more cultural heritage institutions in addition to the ones that we have in Heritage Allies project. I won't spend too much time here. This is a really complex diagram, but I think it's very useful as it puts together all the pillars I mentioned before in terms of general objectives, including all the different techniques, technologies, solutions, services that we plan to bring in. So an outcome we can understand from this diagram is the complexity of the project we have ahead, and the many things we want to put together, and the many data, paradata, metadata models that we want to integrate and bring together.
Miguel?
Sorry, yes?
Miguel, once when you finish, please let the image there. I would like to add something to that, yeah? Thank you.
Great.
Sorry.
Yeah. And again, this is a proposal stage diagram. But here, just I want to pinpoint that we mentioned digital twin, but one of the objectives we have, and I above all have, is bridging that digital twin or those digital twins we develop for the different demo sites in Heritage Allies project towards this memory twin concept, which it's kind of the current or like the future of digital twins, let's say, or the present maybe. Now, with this, I want just to briefly present the 4 demo sites we have. We have 2 demo sites in Scotland. The first is the West Highland Museum in Fort William. Here, one of the highlights is that we want to we want to digitize the Jacobite and Carmichael collections. So we have all of our, like many objects coming from the region and the country of Scotland that are included in this West Highland Museum collection. So we want to digitize both the building and the objects and allow for kind of this museum to be visited through VR, AR experiences. Following this, we also have the Timespan Museum north of Scotland in Helmsdale. Here, kind of the highlight is that they already have a VR room where we plan to develop and showcase the results of Heritage projects through this VR, AR, XR experience. But the other one is that we have here a large landscape with many objects and many stories and many intangible cultural heritage we want to digitize. So here it's not only a building, but a region and many objects and buildings spread out these regions. So it's kind of a large, vast area we want to kind of digitize and include here. And now we'll go to the two kind of Mediterranean sites. We have Regia di Venaria Reale in Turin, Italy. This is a huge building and gardens. So it includes also the building and the objects in, but also the garden and the objects spread out across the garden. So kind of bridging between a geographic area and the building within. And finally, we have Villa Portelli in Malta. Maybe Tony wants to share a few words about this one. Obviously, Heritage Malta. And here we also have oral history, digitizing both the building, but also the area within. It's quite a large harbor in Malta. And we are currently actually started defining the digitization techniques and the scope, the real scope of the project to implement here. And that's it. So just a recap, we are 17 partners, and you can see them all here. Any questions, I'm happy to answer them afterwards. Thank you.
Miguel, if you can please go backwards to the overview image that you showed to us earlier.
Yep. Oh, sorry, that one.
Yes, thank you. This is what we, yes. Okay, it doesn't work. Okay, nevertheless, I will try with my hands. Part of this, what you see here, it has been discussed this morning in the presentation of George, especially, but also in this column here, yeah? The first and the second. So the issue is how, at the end of the day, can you prove that this what you produce there is of high quality? That's why we need the paradata, the protocol of guaranteeing that the process, the methodology, the systems, and the procedures in place were all of high quality to bring, of course, also at the end of the day, high quality of data to be used also for the artificial intelligence and, of course, for the use and reuse. Now, thank you, Miguel. Discussion is going to be at the end of the session for all of us. If you please make your notes and then per speaker, this what you want to ask. Now we go to the next speaker, Janet Anderson, the coordinator of the eArc project, part of the e-archiving initiative of the European Union, the only one existing since several years for the data preservation. Data preservation. Long-term data preservation is totally unknown, totally unknown in the data processing in ICT. Janet, the floor is yours. Thank you very much. Yeah. We cannot hear you, Janet. You're muted. No, not yet.
Share.
Yes, now yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, and you can see the screen.
Yes. Excellent. Please.
Thank you very much, Marinos. Thank you for the invitation, and I will be as quick as I can be. So we have heard the myriad of documents and types of documents that you need to save, both historical and scientific, and often a very good mixture of both of them. They need preserving for the short, medium, and long term. That is our job in e-archiving, and we are particularly mandated to work with the 3D cultural heritage community by the European Commission, DG Connect, to help preserving that. And that's something we've been doing over the last couple of years. Okay, oops. There we go. Right, so I will give a short introduction, look at our specifications, and in December, we gave a practical demonstration. We had an hour-long session, and we had a practical demonstration of how we could actually preserving the Lambusa boat that you have already seen. Now, there's not time today to repeat that, or indeed repeat any of it, but we did it then, and we will be documenting that in the future. There is a book coming out from the Euromed conference, and we have a long chapter in that explaining exactly what we did, which will be available in the future. Now, something very important, we're working with some people from the 4CH project, as well as working closely with Marinas. We have a network of experts working with us on this 3D work. Franco Nicolucci is actually part of our consortium, and he and his colleagues have written a report on things that will help you to with long-term preservation of 3D data and cultural heritage. And there is the link to that report, which I would encourage you to read. This next part, this very quickly, I have taken it straight from that report. So, the important things that you've got to look out for over time are technological obsolescence. I don't need to describe that. Software, hardware going out of use. So in order to keep your material, you need digital continuity from one stage to the next. This is particularly important in your field, in the digital cultural heritage field, where things change very, very quickly. They're here today, gone tomorrow. So you need to set up at the beginning of your project a data management plan. Come to us, we will help you with that. Whatever you do needs to be based on FAIR principles, findable, accessible, interoperable, reusable. The things that I'm going to tell you about very briefly, they are all FAIR. FAIR is really gaining traction, particularly in scientific communities. Very, very important. If you can't find it, you can't use it in the future. I'm going to go very quickly over the need for good repositories, trusted repositories, not just bung it anywhere, but someone that will actually keep that data accessible over time. I don't need to talk to you about metadata, paradata, the importance of those, but we need to keep them, file formats, and how can we help you from e-archiving? So, what is an archive? An archive is something that actually intends to preserve information for access and use by a designated community. There are so many wonderful DCH projects, but nobody thinks about how they're going to be accessed in the future. That is not good. A repository in itself just means that you just store it somewhere. Now, just storing material, just like keeping something on your computer, does not make it accessible over the long term or even short or medium term. You need a trusted repository. For example, the Digital Repository of Ireland is a Core Trust Seal certified trustworthy digital repository or an online archive that preserves Ireland's humanities, cultural heritage, etc. So that is a trusted repository. It does all the things that the archival practice wants it to do. So you need to look for a trusted repository. Again, the contact details of my talk are at the end. Ask for help if you need help with a trusted repository. So what do we provide? In e-archiving, we provide non-hosted archival services. Nobody could host all the archiving material needed across Europe, but we do everything else but. Specifications, tools, a very comprehensive reference architecture model to help preserve material based on best practices. We've been going for 11 years, so our work is now robust and in production. So you have to get material into an archive or a repository, keep it there, and then get it out again. So we have harmonized practices, guidelines, all these things for you. So our work is based on something called the OAIS, developed by NASA in America many years ago. There's now a new version of the standards, and that's all about information packages, getting material into an archive, keeping it there. So submission information package, archival information package, dissemination information package. We use something called METS, Metadata Encoding and Transmission Standards. That's used across the world in GLAM institutions. And then something called PREMIS, which is preservation metadata. So we're looking to be able to get anything from any kind of source system, create a submission information package, put it in a repository, and then get it out again for access. And we really have looked at everything. So our specifications, we have a base specification. So these are all the information packages. So that's how we transfer the material into a repository. Then this is about finding, preserving, and then we have content type specifications. This is for databases, geospatial data. And then we've now produced 2 for 3D content. We are on GitHub, we are open. So please go to GitHub, tell us what you think, use what we've done. We are an open community. Our governance, we are fully funded currently by the European Commission. There is an EARC consortium looking after it. The DLM Forum is the body that is hosting these specifications via something called the DILSIS board. And these information packages, they're all about interoperability, and it's an XML-based implementation using international standards that everybody can use. This is a quick look at the use of METS. Here's software. This is, for those of you that use XML, this is very usable. And content type, you've got to be able to cope with any kind of data. So we can cope with the paradata, any metadata. This is the premise model. This is to do with environment, rights, agents. All of these can be encoded in there. So we can cope with any kind of material that you have in your project or country, or indeed in your digital twin. And we're using simple folder structures, and the one that we have for 3D has got paradata in as well. So description of the 3D one now very quickly. It's about transferring to archives, records exchange, archive consolidation. Based on the first one was for product models, so this would be for buildings. Sorry, not for buildings, for objects. Based on computer-aided design, LOTAR, and STEP product model data. That was published in December, and you have been sending us your feedback. The cultural heritage one that my colleagues Stephen Mackey and Sven Schlab are working on at the moment is this one, looking at 3D models, cultural heritage. This is for long-term archiving, interchange central submission. Principles, got to be data format agnostic, use premise. It can cope with any kind of package structure. We're using open formats, keeping the original, structural metadata's METs, preservation premise. And now almost finished. Descriptive metadata, very, very important. So this is to be able to find your archival content. You need to be able to use standards. But for the cultural heritage domain, there isn't one standard that fits everything. So Stephen's done a lot of work with this and is recommending two different types of metadata. One is from the archival side, which is records in context. The other one is CDOC CRM, which is from the cultural heritage site. Using linked data, you'll be able to cover names, places, subject, genre. And so two standardized ontologies for linked data, covering similar sorts of areas, and they are connected through relationships. So, for example, you might have a place that would be described in one way by records in context and another way by a CRM record, but those could work together and use common resources. They're both open and local. Again, different uses of records in context and CRM. And to finish off with, there isn't time or space, as I said, to demonstrate the Lambusa boat proof of concept that we did in December. But I will just point you to all the software, again, that we have on GitHub. We have a lot of different software. We have end-to-end systems and we have components. One of the end-to-end systems that we haven't told you about before is something called Keep Solutions Rhoda, and that's a repository of authentic digital records. So this is an ideal repository to use for digital cultural heritage. For example, the European Union, their publication office use this. So it's used in anger across Europe. We use something called eArt Web, which is a reference implementation to describe the Lambusa boat. Hopefully I'll have time another occasion to go over that again, because I think it's important. Here's our details. Please get in touch if you'd like some help, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Janet, for the nice presentation. We will please stay online, and we will go to the discussion at the end. We go now back to the first presenter. Due to technical problems, it was not possible for Antonella to be online. Antonella? Yes, we cannot hear.
Hi, nice to meet you all. Sorry for the problem. Here I am. Do you see my presentation online?
Yes, if you go to the presentation mode, we will see it better.
Do you see it better?
No, it's, yes, now yes.
No?
Please, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so I will not enter into the details of what we have done. I prepared the presentation where I tried to tell you what is happening in the Eureka 3D environment. Eureka 3D XR is a project where we are going to showcase 3 scenarios that are developed in the frame of the data space for cultural heritage. And the 3 scenarios want to demonstrate the concept of the memory twin, the virtual visualization of the Middle Ages walls in the city of Girona. We start from archival information that are in the archival department of the municipality of Girona, maps, pictures, interviews, historical documents, videos, to reconstruct a portion of the walls that do not exist anymore because of the urban transformation. The XR narrative of excavations in process in Bibracte, the archaeological site that is in the center of the Burgundy, in the territory of Morvan, an archaeological site where even Julius Caesar was settled to write the Bello Gallico. So there is an excavation that is in process, and we wanted to engage people with the digital contents about the archaeological experience, and the creation of a new life of Saint Neophytos and Glistra in Cyprus in the virtual space. So the saint, the monks will come out from the frescoes and will tell the story of their life in the Glistra. And these are the three scenarios that we are developing in Eureka 3D. Eureka 3D is a project that is co-funded by the Digital Europe program. We just started in February. It lasts a very short time, 1.5 years. It is led by Photo Consortium Association with the participation of CRDI, the municipality of Girona, Bibracte Research Center, that is also a Grand Site de France, so connecting culture and environmental heritage, the Cyprus University of Technology, EGI that is providing the digital infrastructure, Cyfronet, IMEC, Swing IT, MEMO, Miralab, the Technical University of Athens, Europeana Foundation, and this is the consortium. The objectives are to transform digital cultural content, what is preserved, for example, in the e-archive, 2D, 3D, videos, text, maps, stories, into experiences and extended reality scenarios. These scenarios will be delivered in a way to the European Common Data Space for Cultural Heritage, so the growth, the improvement of the data space is a part of our discussion, and to continue the effort in strengthening the capacity of the cultural heritage institutions, because if we wanted to move from the geometrical representation of cultural heritage to an experience that is an experience of a cultural heritage, the cultural heritage institutions must be aware of the possibilities of these new technologies. As I said, we will not have the time to enter into the details of each scenarios. However, said this, we think that we have to have a way to trigger the multiplier effect of our projects. It is not enough to do a project that is successful. This project should put the seeds for new projects, for new initiatives, for a transformation of the cultural heritage sector. And what are these concepts, this concept of a memory twin needed? What is needed? Well, we think that it is needed, first of all, a clear understanding of quality. What is quality in this new dimension of digital cultural heritage that involves 3D? Which kind of infrastructure we need to support this new kind of digital cultural heritage? And finally, which kind of competence we have to set up in order to be able to support the transformation at a wider scale. First of all, we think that it is a question of digitization. Digitization of a new sphere, digitization of something that goes beyond the 2D representation of the cultural heritage. And for this purpose, we have developed a guideline, very simple, very practical, with a very practical approach, devoted targeting cultural heritage institutions. And you can download your guidelines through the QR code. So, a question of quality. We know that the digitization is a static capture of something that is dynamic, that the capture happens at a certain moment, but the cultural heritage object transforms its nature during the time and because of the surrounding environment. A still image of a painting, the picture of a monument or of a cultural site, all this is a 2D projection of something that exists in the 3D world space. And eventually, during the digitization of such a complex idea, capture the 3D dimension of a cultural heritage, stakeholders' requirements are necessary in terms of equipment, practices, actual settings, software processing, all impact the final results. For this purpose, we rely on the study on quality of 3D digitization of a tangible cultural heritage that has been produced by Cyprus University of Technology, and that is our Bible. We rely on this. But this is not enough. We need an infrastructure. And for this, Eureka 3D developed an infrastructure. Another Digital Europe project that just completed in December 2024, with more or less the same partnership of Eureka 3D and SAR, to implement a data cloud devoted to cultural heritage. And what is this cloud? We call it Eureka 3D Data Hub. It is storage, authentication and authorization to access in a safer way the storage facilities, a persistent identifier, a visualization tool, because when we move to 3D, we have a big problem with visualizing what is the 3D model, and the integration with the Europeana. In this picture, you see the process from the object, the Lambusa board, for example, that was just mentioned by Janet, through the data hub, up to the delivery, to Europeana, to the archiving, to the persistent identification systems, and to EOSC, to the European Open Science Consortium. And eventually, it's a question of competence. We think that competence means to share knowledge and experience, but also to have a clear mind on service provision. Service provision to cultural heritage sector. We do not need much. Certainly, it is needed, research, experiments, new technologies, but it is necessary to use, to have in mind how to use the 3D for recovery processes, how to increase the understanding of heritage artifacts, how to elaborate image and textual data to result into visual impression, to clustering 3D objects in a meaningful way, and to assess successful and unsuccessful case studies. This is our goal, to set up a competence center on 3D digitization and the implementation of a memory twins. I know that the time is very limited. I have finished my presentation, and you can look for further information online. Thank you very much, and I leave the floor to the next.
Thank you very much, Antonella, for the very nice presentation. We move to the next presenter, Ronald. Yes, Ronald,
can you hear me?
We are very brief. This is the most important, or one of the most important panels of the conference, Tonia. That's all about the quality and why we digitize and how we need to digitize. So, Ronald, floor is yours. It's all about standards or no standards. Please.
Thank you. And you can hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay.
You can share your presentation, please.
Almost there.
Not yet.
It's just taking a moment. Can you see that okay?
Yes. Thank you.
Good. Thanks.
Excellent.
And thanks for the invitation, and good to be among you and in this panel. For those who haven't come across the International Image Interoperability Framework, it's usually shortened as IIIF, and the website's easy to find, IIIF.io. And open standards are part of what makes it work to deliver high quality and attributed digital objects online at scale. The access to the world's available images and audio-visual files is part of what it's trying to build. And you see on the map a sampling of where we know it's operating, where it's being used, where are those helping build and extend these standards, and so forth. An international community creates open APIs, application program interfaces. That's part of the secret of the system. So what makes it work? Well, I mentioned access to the world's files and data, and a group of us are working on the 3D standards, which we're due to have the first release candidate this June in our annual conference, which will be in Leeds in the UK. Shameless plug there. Open standards are there so that you can have high quality objects online at scale. And high quality includes, particularly for the 2D world so far, and increasingly for 3D, a high degree of zoom, for instance, great detail, if you like, but variable depending on what devices you have to deliver this on. So because it's open standards and open web standards, it should be deliverable on any modern device that's connected and online, from smartphone through to workstation and so forth. Now, the global community, you've seen a bit of a map, and there's a consortium behind it that has a growing body, and this has been building for over a decade. And a lot of this was to break down barriers. Researchers, developers, and leaders have been looked at and are part of the process to make sure there's something for all parties. And it's estimated well over 1 billion objects, and that's probably conservative, in galleries, libraries, archives, and museums, as well as increasingly in Wikimedia and Internet Archive materials available through there. And IIIF works closely with European, which is part of how we're all going to grow together. But there's a unique combination of the community working together with standards, as well as developing software and applying it to existing collections. And these four have come together to make it expand and grow rapidly, and hopefully in the future. It is the de facto standard for digital library collections and other online collections, museums, etc. So expanding it for 3D, this is kind of a rough diagram of how people are able to access from image server using an API, and a secret is using a structured JSON file, JSON being a JavaScript object notation, which is a common way to complement a web resource. And by structuring that, people can reliably then not only make their information, their images available, but share it and combine it across collections across the world. And then there's something of a presentation API to then, with a manifest in JSON again, a structured way to make that available in a standardized way to web browsers anywhere. And this is a list briefly of some of the open web technologies that are deployed. And I mentioned JSON, but it's in particular a structured way for JSON linked data, and that has enabled a kind of glue to connect data and objects across the world. A lot of the 3D viewers in browsers are based on a JavaScript project, a library called 3JS, but we're working with main developers of viewers, Smithsonian, Morphosaurus. Some people have come from Sketchfab and elsewhere. And Babylon.js is another library that's used. Suffice it to say, we're making sure that the underlying technologies are supportable in the standards. Modular, not monolithic, is one of the ways we talk about it. Persistent identifiers, or links in this case, makes for sustainable sharing. This is just a very quick look at an example from a Harvard collection to show what a manifest looks like in this structured, standardized JSON LD format that creates the manifest. You can see it's human readable, it's structured in a techie way, but it has important information contained in it, including it can have cues for enabling different ways to present the same, in this case, painting or any other object. So these are some examples of, I can take that same thing and frame it differently or even grayscale it, and all without changing the underlying object. So the presentation capabilities are catered for, and it enables much greater creative expression. If you're interested, this is an experiment that we have running one of our developers, main developer for the Universal Viewer, which is commonly used in many collections. This is an example of what it might look like to have 2D, either painting and images, as well as books, text, notebooks, together with 3D and audio and video. Because what the 3D environment will enable is all of this can come together. And by doing that with existing collections, it would be possible to recreate a ruined palace or temple or cathedral, recreate the structure and the wall hangings and features, and maybe have a video to explain it. In other words, some of what we do physically, we could increasingly do virtually. And this is a made-up example of what that might look like, a building structure, in this case, someone's floor plan, and then you could populate it with items from different collections, whether National Galleries and Wikipedia or IKEA and eBay, and put a YouTube video somewhere or the Internet Archive. Just an imagined future. In Euromed conference last December, this question was raised, and there was some discussion about, could we potentially take the same ideas of standardizing metadata in a way that helps complement and make universal access to some of these materials? Could we think about, I'm sorry for the bad joke, parameterizing paradata and putting it in a structured way so that it would be interoperable? I'm going to leave that out there, but as a question maybe for discussion, but it's an interesting idea, and only started talking about it with some of specialists in this area, including Urinos and Drew and team. And I'll pause there. Thanks very much.
Thank you very, very much, Ronald, especially for the one slide with the paintings, because that was a part of the discussion of previous panels so far as the different kind of investigations, digitizations, documentations, concern of paintings on the nano and micro scale. That was very nice. Thank you. Things are coming together now, slowly, slowly. And we can move to the next one speaker, to Anthony. Anthony, we see you. If you can talk, please. Yes, floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Anthony is
for the
linked from
invitation.
Berlin and via 4G, so therefore apologize for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hopefully the connection isn't too bad, but I'm in the middle of another conference and I can only connect with 4G. But
I'm sure that he's trying to share now his presentation, and that's the reason why there is no audio in place, but it's changing. Tony, your presentation is loading. No. Tony, there is a problem with your presentation. It's better if you don't show it. It's okay. There is no problem. If you can talk, that's okay. Tony, unfortunately, we cannot hear you, and we cannot see your presentation. We need to, yes, it's better if we, I don't know if it's already loaded. If not, then we move without a presentation. Tony. Tony?
Marinos, if someone can reach him, maybe he could email it to one of us and we could present it.
Yes, I think so. He went out of the connection. Yes, he's back again. Tony?
Good. I will not show the presentation, so I try not to slow down the connection. Okay. My name is Tony. I come from Malta. I am the head of the Technology and Experience Development Unit within Heritage Malta. Heritage Malta is the national agency for cultural heritage in Malta, and basically we are responsible for the national collection. We have about 90, a bit more than 90 sites and national monuments, including UNESCO heritage sites, and these cover both temples, 5,000-year-old temples, overground, underground sites, palaces, even underwater sites, because we have many wrecks all around the island. So it's a very big collection. Apart from these sites, we have obviously the artifacts, which account to many million items, which form the national collection. So the role of my department is to digitize these assets and prepare them to be inserted into our collections management system. And my team, we digitize both sites, tangible, intangible cultural heritage, movable and immovable heritage. And for many years, we have focused on creating accurate digital replicas of the objects themselves. We have, over the years, felt the need to go beyond this. And luckily, through meeting people like Marinos mainly, the idea of memory twin has progressed more into the way we look at digitizing our collection. And today, now that I'm going to skip the presentation itself, I would like to touch on 5 main reasons why we are looking into the memory twin concept towards digitizing a national collection. And I'll quickly go through these 5 points. First of all, we want to move beyond the data. We want to add context and meaning to objects. So when we digitize an object, when we digitize a site, it's true we're creating an accurate 2D or 3D digital twin, but obviously without the contextual data, the digitization is incomplete. The memory twin approach enriches the digitized assets with paradata, which is why it was digitized, how it was interpreted, as well as metadata, where it came from, what it is, and all that kind of information. Together, these form a layered and dynamic representation that captures the evolving meaning of an object, not just its appearance. And this is a very important, crucial point for us. This is exceptionally important in the Malta case, because it's a Mediterranean country. We have layered histories which account to many millennia. and the interpretations shape our cultural identity. So we're looking beyond objects, we're looking beyond buildings, but we're looking at monuments, we're looking beyond objects and looking at them as artifacts. And the memory twin gives us that step beyond the actual digital twin. Another reason is that memory twin captures how society and individuals remember, interpret, and interact with heritage over time. So this gives the whole process a very human dimension towards the digital archive, allowing us as Heritage Malta to preserve not only the physical attributes of the artifacts, but also the intangible culture and memory which are associated with them. So these could include things like oral histories, community interpretations, different curatorial narratives attached to the same artifact. So as you can see, this is much more than the traditional digital twin of an object. A third reason why we look into memory twin is because we want to enable the highest possible degree of reuse and interoperability of the digitized objects. Obviously, when we digitize heritage, it's a very costly and time-consuming exercise, and we want to make sure that we get the best, highest value for money for our work. So first of all, we want to share all our digitized assets on as many platforms as possible. Just last week, we became an accredited national aggregator with Europeana, which will allow us to share all the digitized assets in our collections management with Europeana directly. We can create educational tools, VR and AR, XR applications, and Memory Twin ensures that all the associated knowledge, context, and ethical considerations with those objects, which we are digitizing, are also included in this reuse. The memory twin approach ensures that we preserve the attribution and context, we prevent decontextualized or misleading interpretation, and enable richer and improved user engagement in platforms like virtual museums. Referring to the previous point, preventing the contextualized and misleading interpretation is going to become a big challenge now that AI is taking an even bigger role in cultural heritage interpretation as we move along. Another new concept which is coming in is that memory twins are essential to personalized curatorship. What is personalized curatorship? It is a new approach which allows visitors to curate their own exhibition based on their perspectives, on their baggage, on their expectations, whilst the system still maintains traceability and scholarly grounding. So it supports this multivocality, multiple perspectives of the same object, democratization of curatorial authority. So we're moving from the collections-based curatorial approach to a more visitor-centered approach, and also makes possible digital storytelling using these digital heritage assets which would have worked on. This obviously is one of the biggest challenges. It is a big culture change within museums when it comes to these new approaches in museum experience development. Finally, why do we need to implement Memory Twin? Is because we believe that Memory Twin is going to be shaping the way we digitize our cultural heritage in the future. It started, but we also want to make sure that we position ourselves as a national agency within the European context, and we want to lead by example. So we are involving ourselves in standards and development of standards and methodologies. We want to contribute towards these standards and frameworks on a European level, and this is why we are involved in a lot of European initiatives and projects. And we want to support big projects like Europeana and the Cultural Heritage Cloud with a deeper model for data enrichment when it comes to cultural heritage. And all this, obviously, it strengthens Malta's role within the European cultural heritage ecosystems. And it also aligns with the European goals on how cultural heritage should be preserved and aligned on a continent level. So basically, I hope that I was clear enough to explain why a national agency like Heritage Malta is really interested in the memory twin concept, we're not only interested, but we've already started taking very concrete steps towards implementing it. We obviously have a number of challenges, especially when it comes to lack of standards and sometimes lack of understanding in certain areas. It's a very steep learning curve, but I strongly believe with the right commitment and willpower, we could make it work, and we're definitely committed to see it become an integral part of the way we digitize cultural heritage in Malta. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tony. Even without the presentation, a very clear message. If you are responsible for the memory of your country in the digital era, then the digital twin is not enough. It has to be something more than that. And especially if you want to preserve that for the generations to come. Yeah. And now we move to the next one, speaker. A colleague, Roumeliotis Stergios from NTUA, to explain to us something amazing. At least I would say the first attempt from Greece, similar to this, what is happening in Malta. Tony, yes, Stergios, floor is yours, please.
So, good evening. I belong to the interdisciplinary team of Mrs. Moropoulou. And we decided last September to create a new digital platform. So I will try to explain how this creation came by. So this intervention draws upon a sequence of projects focusing on the digital and the management of cultural heritage. These experiences have shown that digital transformation in the heritage domain cannot be limited to recording material, the material aspect alone. This is precisely where the shift from digital twins to memory twins becomes relevant. A digital twin provides an image of what a monument is, while a memory twin allows us to represent what that monument means to people. Its memory, its rituals, its continuity, and this in our view, is the essential step towards the future. So the starting point of this trajectory was the RESPECT project, which developed a model system for the holistic management of digital cultural heritage data, a platform that integrates technical and geometric data, material and restoration-related information, as well as historical, social, and cultural content. Most importantly, the platform was designed with interoperability and collaborative use as key principles. Not merely a tool for engineers or curators, but a shared environment for joint knowledge management and production, a fundamental requirement for a memory-aware framework. RESPECT was not confined to a theoretical level. It was applied to the emblematic restoration project of the Holy Aedicule of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. This project combined advanced documentation techniques, non-destructive diagnostics, geophysical and structural models, as well as historical, social, and religious data, reflecting the enduring cultural significance of the monument. So it became clear that a digital twin limited to physical representation could not fully reflect the monument's identity. The Holy Sepulchre is a living symbol, a shared point of reference for three major religions, charged with profound meaning. So there was a clear need for a model capable of capturing not only how the site exists, but also who this monument is. This realization marked for us the emergence of the memory twin concept. The experience of the Holy Sepulchre encouraged a broader understanding of cultural heritage, not merely as an object of preservation, but as a driver of local identity and social cohesion. This perspective informs the Evlogon project. One of the project aims is to establish a digital repository for cultural heritage management with emphasis on reuse, education, and community integration. Evlogon builds upon the technological groundwork laid by RESPECT and includes case studies such as the Holy Sepulchre as exemplars of documented but living memory. In this sense, the platform serves as a bridge between cultural objects and the communities connected to them. So the most recent development in this sequence is a proposal for Epithea, submitted last September. Epithea is conceived as a digital decision support platform for cultural heritage, advancing in three core areas: integration of digital twins and memory twins, use of AI-driven tools for analysis and forecasting, and support for evidence-based policy development and cultural planning. Epithea was not designed exclusively to generate digital twins of monuments. It was built around the concept of memory twins, digital entities that represent not only structure but also memory, historical depth, and cultural meaning. So these entities constitute the core of the platform, driving both analysis and policy recommendation. If the digital twin was the initial step towards introducing heritage into the digital domain, then the memory twin is the next one that lends voice, narrative, and meaning to that domain. The objective is not simply to store information, but to engage with the substance of heritage, to develop tools that transform memory into digital continuity and action. So this shift from structure to story and from data to meaning is not only a natural evolution, it is a necessary one if we are to treat cultural heritage not purely as a structure, but as a cultural experience and identity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sterios, unbelievable. It's good, very good. It's a monument. It's not a building. It is a unique monument. For the Christianity, only one exists. And the geometry is not enough to send out the message. We're moving now to the next one speaker, good friend Nikos. Nikos has a presentation, wants to share with us.
Okay,
Nikos,
thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
This is Nikos Doulamis from National University of Athens. Thank you, Poulou, for inviting me this kindly conference, very interesting conference. And I'm trying to make a very short presentation to leave space for discussion. The title of this panel is Digital Twin and Memory Twin, from transfer from digital twin. Digital twin is actually an engineering domain. Cultural heritage is actually an humanity domain. But memory is actually a neuroscience, medicine domain. So if we should change, we should intertwine medicine, cultural heritage, humanities, and engineering. And this is my personal vision and opinion on this position and vision on this matter. So the next slide, there is a...
Yes. Sorry.
How you say it?
Είναι εδώ, αυτό είναι πάει μπροστά, αυτό είναι το
Okay. Okay, so let's talk about the bioengineering, the neuroscience, the human beings domain. Humans and all the species have senses, feel pain, okay, and there is decisions about this pain and actions, and there is a motivational bidirectional perspective. So there is an action between the sense, the pain we feel, and the actions we make. And these signals actually are bidirectional. And we motivate our behavior through the pain we feel. And of course, all these senses are social influence, are emotional influence, are not only digital capsuled signals. And there's actually three main cycles: the bio in the bio neuroscience domains, the psycho, the psychological perspective and the social influence perspective. So we feel, and our motivation has three main aspects. But do we have the same perspective in a digital cultural domain or cultural domain? So we have perception, on the other hand, we have prediction based on this perception on the session, and we have actions, and this is bidirectional. Let's talk about the digital cultural heritage perspective. Okay, this is somehow a very shallow approach. It's digital engineering combined with 3D capturing, archiving, XR, VR, but okay, this is not, according to my opinion, a memory twin. It's not like humans being. We have so situation awareness, sensing, digitization, photogrammetry, tomography. We have prediction tools, AI, analysis, analytics, and we have actions, preservation, conservation, documentation. But this is the approach that humans follow. The answer is no. And what we need is, for discussion, we need bidirectional links. We have sensing, but we have no motivational actions. We have the social influence of the cultural heritage objects. We have no emotional states. We have no avoidance learning, no attentional processes. So what we need in the future, according to my opinion, my vision, is to make cultural heritage objects to be as human beings, to live with the people, to live with the community, to live with the land space, to live with the region. This is my question, and to leave it as a discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, Nikos, yeah, well done. Thank you. Speechless. But I would say in a different one way.
Is my personal view.
Yes, indeed. And thank you very much about that. This is what we want at the end of the day, is that the monuments have to start talking, and the day is going to come. That's the power of ICT. The power of ICT is going to boost this area of big data, big multimodal, multi-whatever complex data structures there in such a way, but the precondition there is that you need to have accurate, authentic, high quality of data and not approximations. Yeah? Not approximations. Accurate data as they were in the past. The story as a story. The knowledge as a real, pure, authentic memory to be presented. Once when we achieve that, and that's all about the digital documentation of the past. Nothing else. The rest is just for the creative industry. It's for games. And if we achieve that, and the day comes that the monuments, the sites can start talking, then the momentum came that we learn something from the past and try to improve the future, if we can, to improve the future, of course. Yeah? And that's a very good point to finish the session and move to the last one, part, which is you are now the panel. You can ask or make your comments and remarks, if you wish, please. At least we send out a very clear message what digital cultural heritage documentation has to be in the 21st century or digital century, yeah? Starting from the nano, micro, macro domain of documentation, yeah? That's extremely important. Please, if you can please use the microphone because there is a recording.
Can you hear me?
Yes, if you can say your name and...
Of course. My name is Evangelos Christoforou, professor at the National Technical University of Athens, and my question is quite simple. After, as you mentioned, about the panel discussion before lunch, we discussed about data and metadata. And you now propose the idea of paradata, which means certifying the metadata and the data. My question is, are the accreditation according to ISO 17025 enough to be certain about the quality of the data and metadata, or you need something more than that? Thank you.
According to my opinion, not, because there are no standards for paradata. There is no standard on how we have to document the past. Even the methodology of 3D documentation, for example, there is no standards there. There are just only two standards so far as metadata concerned. And that's the Dublin Code, that's for the libraries, Lido for the museum artifacts, objects, and nothing else. So far as monuments, pay attention, I say monuments, not buildings. Whatever documentations we saw up to now this morning or in the last 2.5 days of the conference was about buildings, not monuments. Definitely no monuments. Yeah, this is a monument for us, we got the message from Nikos, yeah? That's for the human brain, but not for a computer. And we have here to deal with computers. Computers are those which are going to take care of the high quality of data, to transfer it to the next generations. When we pass by, yeah, when we are not anymore alive, Tonia, and the monument, I don't know, doesn't exist, who is going to say the monument was the one that you took care some time ago? Yeah? Yeah, that's a part of the story, but I will, before we give you the floor, Tonia, I will ask Ronald. Ronald, if you can take please position to this, what our colleague here mentioned, paradata, metadata, data, certification, ISO standardization, and so on. You are in charge of standardization. Thank you.
Well, thank you. It is a team effort. But what was helpful too is I think Nikos, the last speaker, mentioned about the combining of our emotions and our thoughts, etc., which gets us to some of the paradata. It's a bigger ask, it's a bigger job, but the proposal was that since we have at least ways to structure at least minimalist metadata for the longevity, that's part of what IIIF's manifest is about in this structured JSON LD, we could at least as a community think about having some structure to pull together some of the paradata, but that doesn't exist yet, but that is something worth considering. Can we structure it in a way that will help preserve it for the future? If we don't do that, we will have lots of different ways to talk about lots of different things, and it is a big job. I'll let others come in. Is that helpful?
Yes, 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 yes. And Tonia, yes, please.
Thank you for the moving panel, Marinos, and all of you. Because really, when I was talking to humanity from this great monument, saying that the tomb of Christ is alive, that was corresponding to an attendance of 3 billion people. So it seems that we cannot reproduce digitally the life of the monument. The monument is alive when it is connected with people and humanity. But my question at this very moment to me as a scientist was, how shall we be able to record and evaluate our scientific approaches and our work to this monument through all the interdisciplinary data we had. Afterwards, as Stergios said, through respect, and Manolis Alexakis is here, who worked a lot on this. It was his PhD. So we succeeded to organize a platform with functional relationships, which is a quality ahead of the relationship between the different inputs. Of course, from the digital to the memory twins, we are going to bring together all the dimensions: history to engineering, theology to social and political science. And this is Evlogon. So what you are doing is the vehicle to express Evlogon, the project where we want to bring together whatever could bring a monument alive in real life today. And I think that this is a motivation, and it should be a mutual motivation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tonia. Also surprised from the story presented from Stergios, from your plans and so on, moving from the digital to the memory twins. And several times during my lecture, I have a discussion with my students. My students are telling me, I don't understand what a memory twin is. And then I am asking them, do you remember or have you managed in your life to see your grandmother, to talk to your grandmother? Some of them say no, some say yes. Is your grandmother alive? No. Do you have a dream sometime about your grandmother? They say yes. That's a memory twin. That's the memory twin. It's not a digital twin. Yeah? And that's more or less linked to this what Nikos explained earlier. So exactly that, the grandmother sending out, hey, you young man, young Andrew, pay attention now. A difficult time comes, it's ahead on you, your exams, whatever, your life, and so on. Pay attention, yeah? Sending out a message. This message that she sent already, or always, when he was sitting, I don't know, on her legs. And playing with the grandchild. So this is one of the greatest challenges, combined, of course, with the data long-term preservation together. How to bring up to the highest top level of quality, big, multimodal, complex data structures, the knowledge, the story of the past, in such a way so that it represents authenticity and identity. So that whatever it comes, a war or natural or human intervention, catastrophe, tsunami, whatever, earthquakes and so on, at the end of the day, yeah, you can prove this is what it is or this what it was in the past there. You remember the story that I mentioned yesterday with Platon and Atlantic? Yeah, that's exactly the same. And the Egyptian priest, that's more or less all about. So I want to ask my panelists if they want to comment something. Michael, if you want to take a position to this, what the colleague from the National Technical University mentioned earlier about the digitization and so on, and the standardization, the way forward. Seeing you as he is a BIM specialist, Michael. He is a very good, a very good specialist on digital twins.
Yeah, I have many. I mean, everything's been really interesting, and I have kind of probably lots of things to say in many ways. But I would like also Ronald maybe to speak up later on. I think that almost everything can be digitized. We have many kind of software tools, infrastructures, data hubs, data spaces, etc. So in the end, it comes to standards and to formats and to ontologies. And that's the backbone for the technological partners to build upon. Okay, IDP, we have our own infrastructure, a platform based on Azure or Forge, depending on the client. Eureka 3D has its own infrastructure. Maybe Heritage Malta has its own. And it's only 6 panelists here. So imagine all across Europe, we're talking about dozens, hundreds, thousands. I don't know. So in the end, someone or a group of people and organizations need to specify these standards and ontologies that enable all of us, I mean, curators, museum owners, managers, facility managers, building owners, building managers, maintenance technicians, energy simulators, predictive maintenance guys, people to work on these standards to put together this data and make it useful for other stakeholders or other users. I don't know, I have some examples I could discuss about, and obviously because of my background, I'm an architect with a master's degree in energy efficiency and sustainability in the built environment. But we have different projects, successful ones, where we put together climate databases together with simulation or prediction tools, together with data coming from sensors, environmental data coming from sensors, both real-time and historical one, to predict problems such as the appearance of mold in the buildings and affecting the cultural heritage, paintings, monuments, whatever. That's just a brief example of a success case we did in the UK. But anyway, I think I'm drifting away, and it's very easy sometimes. But getting to the point, standardization, specification of standards, minimum level of requirements in terms of level of information, level of detail, formats, even ontologies, etc. That's the backbone, and that's what we should all base upon, build upon, and start from. And I'm really sure, Ronald, you have much more to say about this than I have.
Miguel, thank you very, very much. We move to Antonella. Antonella, just half a minute, and Ronald, you, and then we have another one comment from the plenary here, because we have a minister coming in and we have to hand over the podium. Thank you.
I will be very short. I think that we are at the point where there are two communities that should be able to work together. It is again the time that the computer scientists should learn from cultural heritage professionals on how to represent the memory, because this is the challenge. We need to represent in the digital world where there are standards, formats, procedures, something that instead belongs to the physical world, to the world where we are physically there. And the cultural heritage is something that starts from the physical world, starts from the connection of people. It is there that the cultural heritage is created. So I think that we should avoid, as a computer scientist, to invent standards that then are not applicable for the cultural heritage.
Thank you, Antonella. Ronald, your final remark, and then we go to the auditorium, please. Yes, please.
Thank you. Although I think Tony wanted to come in, so I don't mind yielding. Oh,
it's fine, Ron. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, thanks. Some of us have been in a conference that was part organized by historians of art, and they, at the end of the conference, asked, why do we do this? Why do we collect this? Why do we study this? Answering the whys is kind of important, and the example from the Tomb of Christ is a very good one. There's a lot of motivation, but how do you then convey that story? And it's understandable we talk about story, and technically we're trying to figure out how that story would convince someone else who's disconnected from that reality why this is important, why it has affected so many people. There may not be time, but if we take something as simple as a round broom from the 17th century in some collections, we can do all the technical things, but why was it round? And why was it associated with witches? There are stories there that we would want to capture to convey what's important. And that just is magnified with many of our monuments and how they've affected multiple cultures. And once we can capture some of that, we can do the technical work around that, I think, more. So I better stop there. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much to the colleagues following our panel, to the panelists, to all of you for your time. I do know it's not easy, even from abroad, to join us. I think the message that we send is clear. Digital twins are good. Memory twins are better. And by saying this, I have a present for you. You know that this is what we do. We don't explain. That's a part of our success. That's what's happening with all the countries around the world. I have a surprise and a nice present for Tonia to remember me, to remember us. And of course, this is what she's doing. Tonia. In one of our involvements, activities around the world, I have been invited in Sweden to give a keynote about the work that we do within UNESCO Chair of Digital Cultural Heritage at the Cyprus University of Technology. This is an object 3,000 years old. It was found in an excavation in the ancient city of Amathunda, next to Limassol. Limassol is the modern city born from Amathunda, and it's an object, the original, it's in the Museum of Mediterranean Cultures in Stockholm. So Cyprus signed with the government of Sweden, because now of the marmors of Parthenon and so on, a special agreement to digitize God, the largest, the biggest collection of artifacts outside of Cyprus, which is located in Stockholm, and it's all about 60,000 plus objects in Stockholm. One of them is this here. So it's a symbolic one. Our cultural heritage is fragmented. And pay
but
attention.
it is
One
holistic.
piece is missing. One piece is missing. And this is all
This is
about
the
that
memory.
we try.
This is the
We
memory.
try to find it and bring it back so that we
This is
have
the memory. This is the
entire
memory.
knowledge.
The memory, dear
Sonia,
Marinos.
thank you very,
Thank you
very much. In the package too.